there's three things, right, that I talk about in business a lot. You look for patterns, you follow the patterns, and you try to create your own patterns. And if there's a pattern of a common issue with certain voicemails or certain notes that I'm delegating, well, if there's a pattern in there, I have to really coach my team member on what that pattern is. So if I'm forwarding you this kind of an email, here's what's best practice. Not just here's what you need to do because I'm your boss. No, here's what a pattern is. Here's what you need to do to find the opportunity within this pattern. So let's talk about it.
Hello, everyone, everywhere. This is Bob Thibodeau with the Kingdom Crossroads podcast, and you are listening to the Going North podcast with my good friend DomBrightmon. Be sure to subscribe to his podcast so you will not miss any of the upcoming episodes, and be blessed in all that you do.
Another episode, another review to highlight before it officially starts. And this is a 5-star review left by Owen Rex Daughtry. Thanks a bunch for your review. And heck, even thanks a bunch for copping both copies of Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, as well as the book Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. You are the man. I still remember that post you made on Christmas week, man. Made my Christmas. And his wonderful review is titled One of My Favorites. Dom's podcast is one of my favorites to listen to throughout the week. I love the high energy and informative vibe I get every time I listen. Thanks, Dom, for all you do and keep up the good work. And thanks again, Owen Rex Daughtry, my man. Thanks a bunch, Owen. Appreciate you. And if you too would like to have your review read on the show during a future episode, leave one on goingnorthpodcast.com or leave a review about the show on your favorite podcast player. Now let's get on with today's episode. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North podcast, and we got another super special, awesome human for you today. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Because it's the era of returning guests once again, so that means we kept the lights on, y'all. That's right, indeed. We kept the lights on. The bills have been paid. Not Clinton, of course. That's a whole nother bill that doesn't need to be paid at the moment. But hey, that's beside the point. We got one heck of a returning guest for you today because he is a fellow author. Well, hey, the show's all about authors, as well as a father, a husband, a deacon at his church, as well as an athlete and entrepreneur, baby. And my man's been growing like a tree in his entrepreneurial journey. So let's welcome back the HT himself, Hayk Tadevosyan. How you doing today, Hayk?
I'm excellent, Dom. Thank you so much for having me back on your show. It means a lot, and I'm very excited to talk to you about some updates and changes. And let's have a good time.
Woohoo, sweet. That's right. It's going to be so good. It's going to be chocolate-covered fruit in a giant sleep number bed. It's going to be good times. That's right.
Love it. Love it. And I love the reference to dessert because it's the reason why actually I'm training right now. Like I mentioned earlier off air, when I'm training for Boston Marathons, first time I qualified, I'm so pumped for it. And I usually wait. I can't wait to end some of these longer runs just so I can have more chocolate. So to your chocolate comment, I'm a huge fan.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Well, since you mentioned Boston Marathon, what are the qualifications for it anyway, for those who don't know?
So I just turned 35. So when you go from, it's a new category where they give you 5 more minutes. Otherwise, I had to do it in under 3 hours. So now since I turned 35, they gave me 3 hours and 5 minutes. And I qualified with a time of 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 32 seconds. So 28 seconds shy of not qualifying. And that was a interesting journey. Yeah. So training now. So April 17th will be my first one, and hopefully one of many. I'm very excited to try it out. And I hear that's the most iconic marathon there is. And I can't wait to add that to the list of things that I'm proud of.
Heck yeah, man. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Indeed, a few seconds shy of almost not making it. My man made it indeed. So my goodness, so I'm going to be running in the Boston Marathon. So what else has changed since the last time we chatted, man? It's been a whole freaking year, and I heard my man's been growing business like a forest.
A lot has changed. A lot. Sometimes we have these friends there, you've changed. Dom, you're doing too much. It's like, shouldn't you? Shouldn't you be taking risks and learning and developing relationships and, reading books, reading Dom's books to learn from, a lot's changed, Dom. My kids are older, they're 6 and 8 right now. Whole different set of problems. They're in school. It's a different kind of a deal, different type of questions they have. One of them wants to play chess. So business-wise, a lot has changed. I did launch another location that pretty much doubled my team size. And, I'm really learning the power of proper delegation, not just delegation. I think a lot of business owners, I don't want to say they take advantage of their power and just you take care of all my stuff. But I feel like there's a lot of that's very hard not to do that. So I've learned how to become better because I don't have any time for customers anymore. So I have to focus on my team, right? So I can't delegate leadership. I can't delegate certain management and stuff like that. So I've delegated everything else we can, just so I can keep up with my team. And I've got 11 people that I hire and pay and train, and I've recruited all of them. And it's almost like, it sounds great, Hayk. You don't really pick up the phone call in the business anymore. You don't really do all these different things that we're doing. So if I could be like you, I'll be pumped up and happy too. But the reality is, I've got 11 people who work 40, 50 hours a week each for me. I have to be available for it to be their consultant, psychologist, psychiatrist, marriage counselor, relationship counselor, so I would say it's just as busy as it used to be when I was picking up, 50 calls a day and dialing 100, 150, right? So, the effort and the energy I'm putting into is actually slightly more. Yes, but it's not necessarily 2-3 minute conversations. Some of my daily conversations now are hour long. I actually save them for the treadmill. So whenever I'm running, sometimes I'm like, hey, hold that thought. Let me call you back when I'm getting some workout out of the way, so I don't skip the run today. So yeah, the way I'm training has changed. The way I'm running the business has changed. Things have really picked up too. I've been very happy to see how much better my team can do when I'm just focusing on their development. Numbers, we're setting a lot of records in our state, production records. So that's been a really good one. We're doing numbers that I never thought I would. But the reality is you can't do the same thing and expect different results. So things have changed. Coaching style has changed. I've changed. I've read different books, and team is exposed to different information. Now we're doing different trainings. I'm hiring differently. So of course the results will change. Hopefully they don't go backwards, but they've been going forward. So since you and I talked last, our numbers have doubled. So a lot of different ways of managing business and team right now. So good blessings, good problems. Definitely a problem foreigner like me is very thankful, because I've asked for every single one of these things when I moved to this country 20 years ago. I said, it's like, God, give me a lot of problems to solve, because I want to be important. And you know what? Give me a lot of problems to solve, and I'm solving them every day. And I'm thankful for him, by the way. So I'm not complaining.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. And you mentioned two words that I rarely hear together: proper delegation. So, my goodness, what's the difference between delegation and proper delegation?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I've learned. I didn't have humility. I had humility. I just didn't want to show it, right? So when I initially moved to the United States, didn't see my family for 7 years. So it's almost like, I got to show everybody how tough I am. In reality, I was crying myself to sleep most nights, missing mom, my brother, and my sister. So that was a really, really tough wake up call. It took me to write this book to become more comfortable with the fact that I am vulnerable, and I'm just a human being, right? So I learned a lot from my mistakes. And when I was busy doing a million things at once, and there's something would come to me, and I'm like, well, I hired this person to assist me with these things. So I would just send it to them. Hey, can you please take care of it? But what I didn't realize, by doing that, I was sometimes shooting myself in the foot, causing more work. So it's almost like I'm giving it to somebody else so I have less work to do. But in reality, it's coming back to me, it's turning into a problem, because now they're frustrating a customer. They're not doing it the right way. Another more experienced team member is getting frustrated because they didn't do it right. Now they got to pick up their slack. So as a leader, I had to understand, what are potential problems of me just forwarding an email or forwarding a phone call for somebody else to take, right? So I had to really slow down. Not to slow down, I had to really detach myself from my customers, because a lot of clients were used to me, right? So, and some got pissed off. One of them was just, freaking out with one of my team members just last week. But Hayk was always available. It's like, you used to have my cell phone. I had to change my cell phone number, so I'm not always available. My team is, right? So the reality is, when I made that shift and I had to slow down, yes, it was a problem for 6 months. Then it turned into more opportunities, where now I'm delegating email. I actually want to have a conversation before I do, because if there's 3 things, right, I talk about in business a lot. You look for patterns, you follow the patterns, and you try to create your own patterns. And if there's a pattern of a common issue with certain voicemails or certain notes that I'm delegating, well, if there's a pattern in there, I have to really coach my team member on what that pattern is. So if I'm forwarding you this kind of an email, here's what's best practice. Now, here's what you need to do because I'm your boss. No, here's what a pattern is. Here's what you need to do to find the opportunity within this pattern. So let's talk about it. So one conversation, maybe one follow-up, would be a permanent delegating process moving forward, versus I'm continuously delegating. There's a mistake and problem, causing more work for myself. So I got much better at recognizing the delegation pattern, talking about the pattern, and then helping my team and vice versa, having them create their own patterns. So certain things were actually overcome before happening. So certain phone calls stopped coming in because they would coach the customer better. Certain emails stopped coming in because the customer was well educated on the process of our patterns in the office, right? So this find pattern, follow pattern, create your own pattern goes multiple different directions too, in fitness too, and goes in relationships, right? So I've been using it in business, and I just had to change it to the delegation process. Team meetings had to change, so a lot. So proper delegation there's a lot of coaching involved in it. A lot of people don't talk about. You don't just give people things to do. You teach them on why you're doing it and what are the possible good and possible bad if you don't handle it properly.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Sounds
That's a
like
good
the
question you asked me.
makings. Oh yeah, man, that's right indeed. Name of the game. Gotta look for that gold that's in you, man. You can share with the world. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. It sounds like, hey, might even be fodder for number 2, since the first book was about mindset. It's like, oh, next book could be about patterns. You never know, because you're so right. We really succumb to our own patterns that we make for ourselves after a while, that are basically our habits. And it's like, oh, we got to manage them.
But a funny thing you mentioned, there's no new book, right? I don't have one because I haven't done a good enough job of really even putting the book out there. Yes, it's locally. I've done a lot of work for my community. I've given out 1,000 copies, probably just free. I have them just sitting here in the office. I wrote it to make a difference. And I remember met up with one of my mentors, genius of a guy. He's like member of Mensa, top percentile of IQs in the world, multiple degrees in college. It just, every time I talk to him, I feel stupid, So one of the recommendations he gave me, he's like, why don't you change your title from Power of Mindset to the Power of Balance? I'm like, well, first of all, it's too late. I have thousands of copies sitting in here with the Power of Mindset. And I'm like, but why wouldn't I? So maybe the next project is to do some edits, because a lot has changed. Last year I've got some different accomplishments that I'm proud of, and things I've learned about, business is one part of it. Because my book was talking about the 4, pillars of success, family, finances, friendship, and family, fitness, finance, and friendship. Fitness has changed for me too. For what I wrote about the book 3 years ago when I published it, I was talking about getting into marathons. Never thought I would qualify for Boston. And there was an epiphany where I had this monkey on my back telling me that you're heavy, you're 220 pounds. Nobody can do it at 220. Well, guess what? Figured out a way. So I can definitely have a second version talking about fitness. And I got into triathlons ever since I published the book. I don't talk about triathlons. And again, my goal was to just complete an Ironman race, where last year I actually won a local race, got first place, and qualified for Triathlon Nationals. So I want to write about that system and hiring the right coach and plugging in the workouts into your busy schedule too, and having support from your wife, and having kids almost expect waking up knowing that you're in a garage training. So there's a lot of thoughts behind that as well. So I think a second version, and maybe potentially changing the title to Power of Balance, because I do talk a lot about the balance. So that's a version 2 versus the second book. I think that's going to happen over the next maybe few years. I am a lot freer now than when I was developing the second office. I don't need to be here teaching the alphabet anymore. I'm just delegating properly. They're changing their own diapers at this point. It's great. So I'm having more freedom to spend more time with family, and then do some of the fitness stuff and friend stuff as well.
Beautiful to hear indeed. And love the metaphors indeed, because it's definitely true. It's like, oh God, ABC. Like, come on, let's get the Z already. Like, you're stuck at H. Like, how?
100%. Yeah, it's the story of my life.
But it's all good, though. It's definitely all good indeed. Looking forward to that, if that becomes a reality. Because hey, a lot of books have multiple versions, especially those books out in the 80s that were independently published. Like, some of them are like on like 17th edition. So, and that gave a college textbooks. They'd be like, oh yeah, 17th edition, even though they changed one sentence. Like, nah, this ain't gonna be one of those books.
No, I'll rewrite most pages.
Yeah, well, funny enough, that actually leads into the second question. Usually ask folks to pop back on, is like, any other lessons you learned from publishing your first book that you don't want to do for book number 2?
Hiring the wrong editor, so that was, I've had some, I don't want to call them scammers, but yeah, I guess you would say they would pretend like they would do some work on your book. In reality, they just want to take your money. I think that's something we even talked about last time, but I mean, honestly, I don't feel like I'm an accomplished enough author. Maybe I am, because I've heard some good stories. One of the stories that I feel really good about the book, it was just recently, one of my wife's really close family friends on her mom's side said they took my book and gave it to, there's a older lady in a, elderly care facility building, one of those, they visited them, and she's like, I just left Hayk's book in the room. And she picked it up, and I knew she was in that genre, mindset and, motivational stories and stuff like that. And she read it, and I guess some time goes by, and then they talk, and she goes, I'm so glad you left the book there. It was exactly what I needed. I had goosebumps when she told me this story. I'm like, sometimes people are waiting for a perfect time to publish a book, and it's sitting there. It's got good information, good manuscript, good everything, right? I mean, my advice to people is not that like what you shouldn't do. It's almost like stop waiting. Because if I waited because I wrote it in 6 months, but I re-edited it for 2.5 years, right? So if I was that perfectionistic, I would still be editing it right now. It would have been 7 years in, still trying to work on this book. So I think the reality is, if you have a good concept, just put it out there. Put it out there. The fact that it helps some lady out there, and I've had some other stories that helped me recruit some good talent in my business too, about some young talent who read the book and they're pumped up. They came to me, I just want to work for you. I'm like, okay, I'll bring them in. They're becoming to amazing producers, making themselves and the business a lot of money, and helping coworkers, and they make a big 6-figure difference in my business. So that's a blessing too. So yeah, directly maybe the book hasn't paid itself, but indirectly tenfold, 100-fold paid for itself. So if somebody's on the fence about, do you really want to write it for money? Like, what if you make a difference in somebody's life, right? So continuously editing a book is not the answer either. So just, if you feel like it's ready, just do it. And a lot of people will give you enough feedback to get the second version and correct it the second time. So maybe don't order 2,000 copies like me and have it sit in your office. So don't do that. That was expensive.
You're so right. Yeah, because that was the old school model. It's like, yep, we're doing a print run, buddy. And
Yeah.
you got to buy 2,000, 5,000 copies, and that's it. Sell them all, and we'll print some more, baby. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
God.
Because when I saw the call, I'm like, I just want to maybe 200 sitting in the office, just in case. I want to give it out to people. And when they gave me the price difference between how much each costs for 200 versus 2,000, I'm like, yeah, I'll spend a lot more, but it makes sense to order 2,000. So I have boxes just stacked up to the ceiling. Good. I'll give out more free copies.
Hey, it's a good read, I guess, in a way, recruiting tool for your business, and a way to, I guess, lack of a better word, indoctrinate some new folks on what it takes and what you expect from people that come to work for you. Because in a way, like, it's a addition to the training manuals and everything else. Because hey, you want your folks to be at the top of their game or work towards it. And hey, you got a primer of what you like to do and what helps you to get your success. And hey, that's freaking awesome, man. And you brought up a powerful point there. It's like, hey, you can make some money off a book, maybe, but it's like it ain't from book sales. It's from the impact you make on the back end from it. Like you said yourself, it paid 100-fold because it, even though it didn't directly sell the way you would hoped it would, in a way, it helped you to grow your business now, where it's like, oh shoot, I got 2 locations now, and there's probably going to be a third coming soon too, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I'm an author. I'm not a paid author, or at least not a well-paid author. It sells. I mean, the book sells every month, but reality is I'm a paid business owner, right? And if you are serving the community through your business, and your book serves the community indirectly as an author, like, they're both going to work together. There's going to be complements one to the other. Retention, loyalty, people get to know you better. Like, don't people want to get to know somebody that's tied with the community? I mean, you don't have time to talk to all of them at once, but make sure some of them pick up copies of your book. They're like, you know what, I like this guy, right? So they see the way I train my team, they see the culture we have in here. So I've noticed nothing but great things happen every time a customer or anybody else picks up a copy. So again, if you can write a good book and put it out there, even if it's decent, right? Just put it out there. Yeah, that's my words of advice from what I've learned so far.
Amen to that, especially for those who like to be a perfectionist. It's like, hey, I got to get this Michelangelo statue going here. I got to have Sistine Chapel become half blind before I can really release my art. It's like, no, you don't have to do all that.
Yeah.
You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
Yeah, I was
It's
that
okay.
guy. I had to release control, and yeah, thank God I did.
So my goodness. So learning proper delegation, shattering the beliefs of, hey, I got a year older. It's like, I'll never compete in the Boston Marathon. It's like, hey, I qualified. And now it's like my man's breaking old thought patterns and old limiting beliefs. So my goodness, any other skills you've been polishing over the past 12 months, my man?
No, just the balance piece, Dom, to be honest. Yeah, breaking barriers and belief system is a big one. I have a lot of them. I think that post-traumatic stress disorder I, imposed on myself when I was pulled away from family, and it was just me and my dad in America alone. didn't fit in with the kids, not with just the way I dressed and looked, but also with the way I thought, didn't speak the same language. So I've gotten a lot of monkeys on my back that I'm not good enough, right? You're not capable enough, you're not smart enough, you can't do this, you can't do this. So I have a lot of doubts. Like as far as confident as I come off to people, but when I hear some of my story, maybe they listen to a podcast, they reach out to me like, man, Hayk, you don't come off like you have, it seems like you can take over the world. And the reality, they don't know how much doubts I have, right? So, and I think it's very important to do difficult things. And one of the things that I told myself, I can never do Boston. That's probably the reason why I should do it. Yeah, my time was close. It was like off by like 7 minutes. And I never thought I could shave that much off of a marathon. But the reality was I was just telling, that was a story I told myself. And the more I told that story to myself, the more I believed it. The reality was it was a made up story, right? So, and I do something differently. So I hired a coach. And I really learned the power of proper coaching too. Just because you're a coach at something doesn't mean you shouldn't have a coach. As a matter of fact, my coach has a coach. He's like, when I have a coach, I'm more accountable to do my own workouts. I'm like, that's interesting. I'm like, so you're a coach and you have a running coach, a triathlon? He's like, yeah. Right. So it's a humility piece to think when people are like, oh, I got everything figured out just because I'm giving good advice. But you're not biased towards who you're giving advice to, but you're very biased about giving yourself. And your excuses sometimes make you almost, yeah, but I should skip. I know better. No, you need to have somebody without any emotional involvement giving you advice at all times. Right. So proper coaching was a big one. Seek good coaches. Right. That's a piece. I've always talked about it, but it never was this emotional to me that connected to my confidence level, where I got a good coach and he really put me on the next fitness level where things like I needed to win that medal, right? To me, I needed that confidence as a child that was taken away from me to look at the medal and be like, you know what? I actually did this. To somebody who's quick, who's been, who wasn't a social outcast like me, who was popular in high school, to them might not be a big deal, but to me, that was a big deal. I needed that to wake up with, what is it? The pep in the step, right? Pep in the walk, a little confidence. So my chest sticks out a little bit more and I can look people in the eye without feeling like they think less of me. And again, a lot of it is trauma from childhood. And to me, I'm recognizing the fact I had a lot of it. So yeah, do hard things, do a lot of hard things, and you should do them because you can't do them, right? It's like, why would you cause pain? But reality, who told you a good life is a simple life or it's a light life? No, good life is a challenging life, right? In reality, everybody's looking for a pursuit of happiness. Happiness comes from challenging yourself, not from sitting on the couch and, oh, I'm preserving myself for tomorrow. No, dude, just grind. Wake up tired and do it again. Oh, Hayk, but you like running. That's why, Hayk, you like working out. I don't. I can't stand it. It hurts. I love how I feel after, but during, there's absolutely nothing motivating about heart rate 180, and you're just like, holy cow, like this is not fun, right? But it's only an hour, right? 2 hours. What about the other 22? What about the other whole week? So the truth, what I'm learning, the more I'm doing these kind of challenges, is I'm the happier and the more motivated I am in life. That has been the lesson since it reaffirmed the lesson since we last talked, Dom.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about. That is some steel to cover the wood. That's what I'm talking about. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right. From a 6-pack to an 8-pack, you love to see it. That's right, indeed.
I don't have the 6-pack or an 8-pack, Dom. I'm sorry. I eat a lot of chocolate, like I said.
Don't worry, it's just a metaphor.
I'm protecting it. Let's just put it that way, okay?
There we go. That's the mindset. There you go. Everybody's got 8-pack abs. It's just hiding. That's all. Some
like 4. Lucky if there's 4 on a good day.
See, there you go. It's a 4-pack revolution. That's even a book somewhere. So, my goodness, what would you consider your biggest setback that actually sets you up for success?
Ooh. Maybe something before last year. Perfectionism. That was a big one at the very beginning phases when I was thinking that if you want to get something done right, do it yourself. Yeah, I wasn't good at properly trusting my people that I was hiring, Dom. I was thinking, I'll give them the easy stuff, I'll keep the hard, and I would not let them fall on their face to learn from their own mistakes. It's almost like the reality is I became capable because there's nobody giving me handouts and saying, like no one cares, go tougher, like get tougher, right? So I got very tough very early, from 13 to 20 when I didn't see my family. I wasn't just going to school. I was working with my dad for cash, making pizza boxes to make, dollar here, dollar there. Where I remember they were giving like marketing material with like tape on mailboxes just to, get rid of 1,000 of them to make $50 or some crazy stuff. On top of that, we were supporting a family. So that it's, it's a difficult thing for me to be like, I can see the victim mentality saying, oh, I drew the short straw. I went to this other country with my dad. But if I go back and think about solutions mentality, right, and solutions based, I drew the long straw, like the lucky straw, right? I was lucky enough to have all this experience before most people, like a lot of kids graduate from college. They think that's the solution to their problems. They hit the real world. They get depressed. Boredom hits them because they don't know how to grind, right? So the reality is I got very capable very quick, but I didn't know the lesson in it was to create more capable people within my business and even around me, right? Even something I'm very worried about my children right now. I don't want to take that away from them. The greatest gift I can give them, that's saying, don't give a man a fish. You give him a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you feed him a lifetime. I was taught to fish very early. And it was hard for me too. It's almost like I became so capable. Let me give all these people, including my own family members, the very thing that I've wanted. And I begged and prayed in my prayers, God, please give me some help. God never gave me anything that I directly asked for, but he gave me the lesson. It's like, hey, I want to be able to make a lot of money. Nothing came, but he gave me so many problems to solve. So much failure, so much adversity. And you know what? You overcome them. And it's funny, results came. God, I want to get in shape. It's like nothing happened. I worked out, nothing. And all of a sudden I continuously showed up and it was these difficult injuries, got hurt. But something in my head was like, sign up for that race. Just pay that expensive ticket, sign up for that, commit to that workout. Did it? Guess what? Everything asked for I got. And I think the problem is we misinterpret thinking it should come in my own language. Here's how I'm asking, here's how I expect it, right? So, and I was taking that away from a lot of people in perfectionism, thinking I'm so capable to help everybody out. I'm gonna give them the things that I was asking and I wasn't given, right? So let me give them the help. Let me pay for their stuff. Let me take care of them. Let me just throw money at the problem. And I've heard a lot of people in that journey by being so capable. Once I learned that, you know what, I'm going to let you fall on your face. I'm going to watch you do it. I'll give you some push. I'll give you some hints. I'll give you some coaching around the problem, but I'm going to let you fall on your face. Sounds mean, but later they'll thank me for it. I have one of the most capable teams in the entire country. We sell insurance in Washington, right? But there's some ridiculous records within my small business. With the 11 people we have, they've said not every, but most possible records you can imagine in the entire like Pacific Northwest. It's crazy. And I don't want to sound ignorant where I'm like, Hayk doesn't seem like he even cares. No, I do. I care a lot. I want to get in there, roll up my sleeves and take stuff off their plate and do it myself. But it takes a lot of soul searching for me not to, right? So the ability to give them and let them have the freedom to fall on their faces and learn from their failures and their mistakes is what makes them enabled. Otherwise, they're disabled by somebody else better than them and they never get better because they're not failing enough.
So my goodness, since you now guest back on podcast again, is there a question that you wish hosts would ask you more often?
Honestly, Dom, it's different since it's the second time we're talking. Not really. You ask good questions. Yeah, no, you ask unorthodox questions. Can't think of any off the top of my head, to be honest. Maybe I should ask you a question. I do have a question for you, Dom.
Go ahead.
You said 700 plus podcast interviews. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what keeps you accountable and motivated to continuously do what you're doing?
Really, sense of honor and duty. I mean, when you promise something to folks, you better deliver. That's really what it is. Like, it's a goal for myself. At times I can be really driven, and really I've gotten a lot out of this show, and a lot of folks who've guested on the show have gotten a lot of it, and the folks who listen and even still listen to this day, even when I first started, when there was not as good audio quality, like, hey, they've gotten a lot out of it too. So hey, it's a wonderful ecosystem. It's a nice little ecosystem. Plus, I love to read. Authors need publicity. Heck, and I get to learn from them too. So it's like a mutual benefit for all parties involved.
I love that. But you also mentioned the fact that you're doing it because you said you're going to do it. You're a man of your word. And, current generation with how soft I'm seeing things are becoming, it's like, that's a rare skill set to have. That's what makes you different, Dom. And it's great to say that you have it. Not a lot of them do. I try to surround myself with those kind of people, but the reality is a lot of people just want to do things for the sake of doing it. And we have the society right now is just really easy to quit. They just give up as soon as things get difficult. But the reality is the results come in when it's difficult. So look forward for something to become less fun and more difficult, because when it does, well, that's the ROI right there you're looking for. You're not looking for the joy, you're looking for the pain. When you get there, it's like, oh, I'm not motivated to do it. Well, if you only do stuff when you're motivated to do it, you're not gonna do anything.
Sure, you're right about that.
You're gonna do one thing a week. No, you got 5 things a day to do, and you don't wait for motivation for that. Good job. Good for you, Dom. That pumps me up when I hear that.
Sweet. Well, I'm on it indeed. I'm on it indeed. Well, sweet. I don't think I remember asking you this question, but I'm going to ask it again. So, if your wonderful book, The Power of Mindset, which may be renamed down the road if it were a food, what would it be and why?
It was a food. Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a big fan of chocolate, so has to be multiple different flavors. It has to be a little bit of coffee in there somewhere, and then some chocolates as well, because I feel like there's some parts of the book that might put you to sleep, some parts will wake you up. So yeah, it has to be dessert. There's some stories in the book that I wrote about that go really, it's not about me, it's about somebody else, like an interview I wrote for someone else, right? So I think chapter by chapter will be a little bit of a different flavor. You notice the whole book with 14 different chapters, not all of it necessarily flows. Yes, some are connected, some are completely different. So I can't say the whole book is chocolate. I think some of it's going to be, it's an appetizer. It's, some of it's going to be the main set, the steak, and then some of it's going to be the espresso, right? So it's a multi-course, flavorful book with whole kinds of different things in there. So, and that's just the way my mind works. So I couldn't write about one thing. I wrote about 14 different things and a million different ideas. So very general answer to your question is a lot of different types of food in there. It's like a whole menu at a restaurant. So
There you go. So, an all you can eat buffet, y'all. That's right, indeed.
there
All
it
you can
is.
eat. That's right, indeed. And the good news is you can stay all day at this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, but this is reserved for folks who come back for round 2. So you're called to give the final keynote speech of your life, and your audience is all 8 billion people on Earth. What would be the title of your message, and what would the main points of that message entail?
Ooh, glad I prepared for that one. What will be the main title to my final message if I'm speaking in front of 8 billion people? Is that it, Dom? Did I get it right?
Yep. The whole freaking planet. They're all locked into here for 90 minutes, man.
To live in fear is to live in the future. To live in regret is to live in the past. To live happily is to be in the moment. Enjoy this very moment. Utilize most of it. Learn what you can. Don't dwell upon the past. Stop being afraid of things that are not going to be happening. The best opportunities in life come from when you're in front of your spouse and you're having a conversation, when you're playing with your kids, when you're talking to your clients at work, or you're coaching, or you're working with your peers, not somewhere else. So put that phone down, be exactly where your feet are, and everything's going to be okay.
Oh, some talk about indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. The mic is hot, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Right, hotter than fish grease, even.
That was a good question, though. I had to really think about it. Hopefully, I didn't let you down, Dom.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Folks usually go deep, and I was like, yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, crap. Last message of freaking Earth. Like, oh, man. Steve Jobs moment. All right, here we go.
That's a great. No, I'm still in no. I might actually walk out and ask a couple of my team members that question just to see what they say. Just I love psychology and human behavior. I mean, that's what the whole book is about, and it's what I do for a living. I'm gonna go mess with my team right now.
Oh, good. All right, so the mind control's working. This is good.
Yes, yes. Power of mindset.
Sweet. So for those who need to pick up that book or weren't here for your first appearance on the show and need to keep up with all that you're doing, so that way they'll be able to look out for more content that you plan to drop in the future, what's the best way for folks to do so, my man?
Right now, Amazon is the best place to order. That's where most of the sales are happening. But if you're within the Seattle, Washington area, just look me up, call my team. They know. They'll give you a free copy if you want to stop by one of our offices. So it's just sitting at the and waiting for you to pick it up and read it. I didn't write it for profit. I read it to make a difference. So, but if you are away, Amazon, The Power of Mindset, and it's the only book like that with my name on there. And first name is Hayk, spelled Hayk. It's the only author for that kind of a book out there. So at least for now.
That's right, indeed. That's right. So no evil twin is out there yet with the same name, so we're safe. That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
No, not yet.
There we go. That's right. He's probably got a book with a different title. It's probably going to be called The Power of Lazy.
Yeah. It'll be released in 2095.
Yeah. It'd be like with Hikes like in his hundreds, like early 100s. Like, man, it took
Power
you
of
this long.
procrastination. Yeah, for sure.
Like, yep. Edited this book. It took me over 90 years.
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, the power of later. Yeah.
Oh God, now that'll be a story. Don't be that person, y'all.
No, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Do it now, make mistakes, learn from them. Don't wait until later. It'll be 2095 when you're ready to make moves.
Yeah, this podcast will probably be a different name by then. It'll probably be a TV show by then.
Oh yeah, on a big network too.
Exactly.
It'll be on NBC.
Sweet. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Well, there you have it, folks. Going to put a link to that in the show notes. Be sure to snag some copies, support what my man is doing, and follow him on all the social medias too. That's right indeed, especially when we get to find out how my man did the Boston Marathon. Indeed, he qualified. Who knows? Maybe he might climb Mount Everest one day. You never know. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So, any parting words before we close up shop, my man?
Outside that question you just gave me about my final delivery speech in front of 8 billion people, I think it's a good message out there. When I heard it, I took it and actually made things slightly easier. The parting words would be, don't wait life to get easy to stop enjoying solving problems. There's always going to be a set of problems you have to change and fix and correct and all kinds of stuff. The reality is the joy comes from that specific pain. You can't just wait for it to be over to enjoy life. Enjoy life with the problems, not without. And, when I had to accept that, it's funny how everything just got slightly better. And do hard things. Do hard things. Show up and do the work. Purpose comes from the grind, not from avoiding it, right? So wake up early if you need to. Get more stuff done. And the more you do, the more purpose you have. And everybody wants progress. Everybody wants purpose. Everybody wants to be successful. But few want to do the work, so do the work.
Thanks a bunch for gifting us with your time and your ears to this podcast. If you want to make yourself even more super special awesome, like, subscribe, and share this with somebody that you care about and spread the word so that way we can get this show out to as many people as possible and encourage them and inspire them to one day become published authors of their own and join the business of immortality. Advance others to advance yourself.